Okay, so whenever I draw a nose, I always start with drawing the outside of the nostrils first, and then draw the inner septum shape. So we're gonna start by drawing basically a C shape and then a backwards C shape. So kind of do it somewhat towards the bottom of your box because you want to be able to make the bridge of the nose above it. Okay, so there's that C shape for the left nostril. And then try to keep the width pretty similar, and the size in general pretty similar to the size you have of the image on your computer. So then you're going to draw a backwards C shape. Okay, and then we want to draw this middle septum. So some people's comes down below their nostrils, like considerably, and some people theirs kind of lines up. His basically lines up. It's maybe a little bit lower. So I'm just going to draw a line in the middle here, just a little bit lower than where the bottom of those nostrils are, to say, okay, that's where his middle little septum drops down to. And then you can draw this, basically it's like a stretched out U shape. Now some people, like this person, hers is a much smaller shape, but probably because he's a male, that's why his is a little bit bigger. So his nose is probably a little bit bigger in general. So we need to kind of stretch out that U shape. In the middle there. Now it's not connected to our outer nostrils or anything. Okay, then we need to add the handlebars onto it to start to form where the nostril holes are, although we can't really see much into his nostril holes. So basically you're just making like a handlebar come over. Again, it's not touching the nostrils though, it's not connected. Okay, and then the last step is to bring those nostrils down and under just a bit more. So we're not connecting them, so no one of these three lines are touching. All right, so that's the only type of line that I make for a nose. Everything else is just going to be value. So for the bridge, we don't add any lines up here. We only do value. Okay, so let's start by adding some value on the lower part because it's definitely darker, especially towards the outer edges of the nostrils. So let's start by adding some value in here. Doesn't need to be super dark because you can go back and build that up. Remember, we want to do this in layers, so you don't want to make it super dark all in one layer. Okay, the other thing is we're going to start to form that tip of his nose. So it's like a little bit darker, like a shape right here. And then it kind of comes down and around. Same thing with on the right side. And a lot of noses have that. We got 10 more minutes. Okay, and then now we can start to form the bridge of the nose. So I'm just going to start by coming up not too far in from the left nostril and start to add some of this darker value that I'm seeing along the edge of the nose. Again, I'm not adding any lines. I'm adding chunks of value. And then we can do the same thing on the right side. Now his whole nose is basically gray, like there's only a few areas where it's almost white. So we will be adding more value on the center of his nose, but we just haven't done that yet. We'll get to that point though. We'll start building up more and more and get to that point. So once you've added a good layer, first layer, use a blending tool of some sort. Like I'm gonna use a tissue just because I like to be able to spread it around a bit more. But you could use a Q-tip if you need to. And I'm gonna even bring some of that value that's on my tissue, bring it in. You can even bring it down and around. And that's a good first layer of value. Now we want to go back and start to really build up some of those darker values. So for sure, on the outside of those nostrils, the under part of his nostrils. Now, where it's like black in there, we can go back in and add that with the charcoal. So I wouldn't worry about getting that like super dark right away. But his nose is all pretty gray. So we're gonna have to definitely build up a decent amount of value. So really just try to observe that picture and look at, okay, where is it darker? So I added another layer value. Now I'm going to blend that out. I might actually go ahead and use a Q-tip now because I don't want to, especially for the bottom part, like those bottom nostrils, I don't want to lose some of my edges that I've got more defined. The only thing I don't like about a Q-tip is sometimes it makes it look kind of streaky. So that's when you could go back in with your tissue and kind of help blend out some of those streaks. So I'm just gonna go back in there again, add another layer. So I would say you should have a pretty good gray value everywhere. Oh, hold on 1 second. Okay, you have a pretty good gray value everywhere, and then tomorrow we're going to go in with our charcoal and really darken it. Especially some of these under areas of the nose. All right, so then we want to look at where is it black in this photo or really dark. So for sure under his nostrils or near where his nostril holes are, although we don't really draw any nostril holes because we can't really see into them. So, but you really want to get some of that darker value in here. And really there's a pretty heavy shadow along that whole left side following his septum. And then same thing with on that right side where the nostril hole is, but it's not quite as heavy of a shadow. And then this under part of his nose is pretty dark, so I'm just gonna go in there with some charcoal to darken that a bit. Darken some of the outside of the nostrils a bit more. So some of this I will blend out. Remember, you do want to get some of that value around the skin too, because that will help create that nose. Okay, and then the last thing you want to do is get some of those highlights in there. So he's kind of got some towards the tip of his nose. And it's kind of dotted, so like you can kind of see, I think it's because of the pores on his skin. So if you can, you could kind of, you can't really see that super well, but try to kind of pick up some of that value with your eraser. Not in like a super full shape. You kind of want to like just make it a dotted shape. And then he does have a little bit of a reflection under his nostrils. So I left mine kind of light, but I might go in there and pick some of that value up just a bit more. And then just really look around your drawing and see like, okay, did I make some areas too dark? Do I need to lighten anything? All right. So just remember when you're doing a drawing of a nose or really anything, you just really want to be scanning that picture, looking at where is it darker, where is it lighter, where do I need to add more, where do I need to take some away, because it's really going to be kind of that back and forth, adding some and taking some away. All right.